Welcome to the Focal Insights Podcast Founder Hour edition, hosted by co-founder Joe Pawlak. Joe has been in the e-commerce industry for over 25 years. He grew and bootstrapped his own startup to a successful exit. Founder Hour episodes go behind the scenes to learn how some of the best e-commerce brands were founded, grown, and operated straight from the founders themselves. Founder Hour is brought to you by Focal Software, a new generation ERP and operation suite for e-commerce brands and third-party marketplace sellers. Focal was built with SMB brands and marketplace sellers in mind to help them grow profitably. Now let's welcome our host, Joe Pawlak.
Hello and welcome to the Focal E-commerce Insights Podcast, where we chat with e-commerce entrepreneurs about business, selling online, and how to overcome challenges for success. Today we have a very exciting guest, but before we get started, for listeners not familiar with this podcast or our company, Focal Software is an e-commerce operations software and marketplace account management company. So if you need help growing your business profitably, be sure to stay tuned to future podcasts or feel free to reach out. Joining us today is Howard Schwartz, who is the co-owner and designer at Whitney Howard Designs, a company that designs and creates American-made eco-friendly accessories for life's journey. Howard has a bachelor's degree in business and theater from Syracuse University. He and his wife, Whitney, started the business in 1999. He left his corporate job in 2003. They have over 4,000 customer accounts and sell products to over 200 museums and parks across the United States. He is an educator who loves to teach and believes this is the best way to help others. He also has an adventure business called HowTrek that he founded in 2016, and Howard currently lives and works in Los Angeles, California. Howard, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we always start these podcasts off with the idea and intent to educate others about that are thinking about getting in business, how they do it, and what motivated you. There's always a great story behind how somebody got into a business, whether it started as a hobby or maybe just a business without a product. Why don't you tell us how you got into business?
That's going to go back actually even further to when I was 15 years old and I had my first business. I learned early on around that time that creativity was something that I had built within inside of me, idea driven. And when I was 15 years old, I had an idea for a line of sweatpants, and I hired my mom to be my seamstress, and I launched a small little clothing business. And it really taught me very early on how to monetize creativity. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I would say throughout this entire podcast, and any mindfulness that I'd want to teach somebody is there are creative people that don't have business strength. There are business people that can't get into the creative space. And it's the people that can identify the opportunities and monetizing and creating an idea. An idea is just an idea until you do something with that idea. And so when I was 15 years old, I learned that. And then when I went into college, my dual degree is in business and in arts, because again, I'm trying to focus in on creativity, which is a skill set that I have and enjoy, but monetizing, looking at how to not just take that idea, but turning it into a business, even if it's not a financial business. I've done so many not-for-profit and community-oriented things that are supporting my community, and there's no financial gain, but it's personal gain, it's other growth, it's other opportunities. So I've always learned to take my ideas and make something out of them. 90% of them don't go anywhere. But it's those 1%, 5%, 2%, whatever that percentage of opportunities, if you're not willing to fail and try them, you're never going to find out where you can go. And so I learned that really early on, and that's been sort of my mantra, for decades.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people say in business too, is that everybody has a lot of ideas, but it's the execution or putting those ideas, bringing them to life. And then hopefully your customers accept that. And then if you've got a product market fit, whether the goal is to make money or educate or whatever the outcome is. But so let's bring it up then to more recent. So the current business that you have, Whitney Howard Designs, how did you start that one? How did you get into that one?
So my wife conceptualized the idea of this little token in 1999 called the Millennium Token. It was a little pewter cash charm that just kind of gave people peace of mind. If those of you who were around during that time, we all thought our computers were literally going to turn off on January 1st,
Y2K, right?
Y2K. And it was chaos. I mean, they thought planes were going to fall out. They thought everyone's power was going to get turned off. So it was a tremendous global, not just national, but global anxiety that was occurring. And so Whitney created this little pocket charm, angel charm, and just without much effort at all, sold tens of thousands of them. And then spent the next couple of years developing the idea of what if we can give people blessings for other things, positive affirmations. And what started off as a small thing got to a couple $100,000 worth of revenue relatively easily. She had a sales rep. And I was in the corporate world, very high-end corporate, negotiating multi-million-dollar deals with big, huge national brand companies and doing a lot of extraordinary things, but running into that wall that I talked about earlier, where you're working with business people that can't get out of the box, or you have to stay within inside of the box of mechanism that corporations have. And I got burnt out. I had sort of reached an apex in my career. Felt like I was working in an environment that I was no longer supportive of, and had a mutual agreement to step down from a position. And I sort of started from scratch. I said, I think I have something I can do with your product idea, Whitney. And so I took the product, which was just a loose-based token, and created packaging and accessorizing, and then developed a whole distribution channel, trade shows, sales reps, national markets. And within just a couple of years, it became $1 million company. And so it's that mechanism of that business background, finding something creative that I could dig into, force my business, not force, but creatively enter into the business side of how can I monetize her idea and make it further and bigger than what it was. And so I used that corporate background, that business degree background, and turned that business into something that for 25 years, we've been, making an income to be able to provide for a family.
And that's a story you hear a lot with entrepreneurs, that in the corporate world, there's not a lot of room for creativity or to express ideas. It's more somewhat stifling, and people feel like, hey, I can do this differently out here, outside of
Yeah.
it, or maybe even better. And so it sounds like that was a component of your motivation.
Yeah. Yeah. And, sometimes just working with people that just like to wear their suit and just want to work on things. Again, it was just stifling to be able to find a way to create opportunities. And most all the business that I created within my corporate world was out of the box. And it's what made me successful was I was creating business that wasn't there and developing relationships. I'm not a salesperson per se. Obviously, I'm in sales, but I'm really a relationship person, and I thrive on relationship building as a big part of my business mechanism. It's sustainable when you build a relationship with somebody, and even to the point where I've worked with clients for numbers of years, and then whatever circumstances change our relationship for business, but we maintain that relationship, and then all of a sudden they become a customer again. And you just never know, or somebody becomes a lead, and there's just so many different places that you can build a bridge. And I'm trying to never burn bridges down.
Yeah, always a good policy. And one of the things you touched on there is being in sales. And I like to think that anybody that owns their own company is in sales.
Yes.
You're going to be selling it, certainly early on.
Yeah, for sure. And you're always selling, even if it's selling yourself to wake up in the morning and get motivated for the day. You've got to always be inspiring yourself to get through the trials and tribulations of having a business. And the bottom line is that unfortunately, not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Not everyone has that ability to be able to wake up at 5 in the morning and spend all their money and spend all their time and to not get any gain from it. There was a magazine, I don't know if it's still around, it was called Entrepreneur Magazine. I read it in long time ago. And there was an article that had 50 questions. Are you an entrepreneur or an employee? And if you were thoughtful and honest and answered the questions truthfully, at the end, it would just basically say you love to sound like the idea of being an entrepreneur sounds amazing, but you're not willing to put your money in, you're not willing to put your time, and you're not willing to fail as much as it takes to succeed. And you like working with inside of an environment of a company and all those other things. And it's okay to just accept that that's your suit to wear, and don't have jealousy or envy for somebody that's not doing what you're doing, because that's just what they're supposed to be doing. And it's accepting and understanding that, I think is really important.
Yeah, I think the point behind those kind of questionnaires for people is that if you're not made for this, you're going to hate it, and that's going to be a rough path to take, regardless of how great it sounds, right? Like, you're going to be on the cover of Wired magazine or something. It doesn't quite work out that easily.
Yeah. And to that point, I think that makes for educating people now more than ever, because we live in this instantaneous success concept of world where you just stick your tongue out on Instagram and you do a stupid post about whatever it is, or you say something and you become something momentarily, or can build upon a brand idea without any real value. I don't want to say value, but there's a instant gratification occurring within social media that allows people to think that the path of entrepreneurialism and the path for success can be very easily achieved by doing things just on the social network of things. And it's not. 99% of the people that are doing that are not succeeding at it. You're finding the outliers within that world, and foundationally, most of those companies are probably, or those individuals, don't have the sustainability for doing it for a career's worth of lifetime.
Yeah, I think you're right when you said that there is a lot of stuff on social media that has no value, but for some reason it gets some false value attached to it, and it helps propagate the whole thing, the whole fear of it all. Okay, so you got into business, and it sounds like you had a pretty good path to, at least financially, sales were coming in, but there's always challenges that you face and things that you expected and were ready for, but things that you didn't expect. So talk a little bit about the challenges that you faced getting a business from scratch off the ground, and how you overcame those things.
I mean, there's so many challenges that occur during the life of a business, whether it's financial issues. We went through 2008 massive financial crisis, where there was businesses, everything, the nation was decimated financially, and then we did it again during COVID. So it's having that ability to be able to weather those storms, and some of it is having some nest egg, if you will, to sustain you through those rough patches, as well as not being deterred. And don't take it personal that your business isn't doing well, because your business isn't doing well because everybody's business isn't doing well. And you can't take it personal, as much as just understand that this is a challenge that you have to learn to overcome. And it's that learning to overcome thing, that stick-to-itiveness, that I think gets people through those tough patches. So 2008 was huge. COVID was huge. We had employee issues. We had a person that was stealing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from our books, unbeknownst to me, for almost a year. I had no idea how she was doing it until I found a mistake. And it's just one of those things that if you take your eye off some of those balls while you're juggling all of them, one of them's going to fall. And you just have to be careful. You have to be mindful that you surround yourself with good people. You have to surround yourself with people that are motivated. One of the big things that I found to be interesting was I'm going to say envy, and that's probably the wrong adjective. But when we're entrepreneurs, Whitney and I, we've got a staff. We had 16 employees working for us. 18 at one point, I think, was one of the peaks that we had. Production, sales, marketing, bookkeeping, all of those things. We had people that were our peers. We knew them, and they had an envy for us because we had this life. We had what we were doing, and they thought they should have more money. We should be giving more money to them, and they wanted more raises. And wow, you look at all this, and a lesson that Whitney and I learned: if you keep giving people raises during those tough times, they're going to be making more money than you are, and you're going to go out of business. It's sometimes better to give people a bonus than it is to give them a raise, because you, at the end of the day, are the business that needs to make sure you're sustaining and providing for yourself. You are the most important people in the business. If nobody's left except you, you can still be in business, but if you're not involved in it anymore, it goes away. And so it's being aware of how you spend your money, how you surround yourself with the people you surround yourself with, and being capable of weathering the challenges that inevitably will happen with any lifespan of a business.
Yeah, and when you talk about a number of those things that you mentioned, 2008 was real estate, COVID. These are things that you can't really predict with any certainty. Certainly, the timing of them. There could be storm clouds on the horizon, but you never know the exact timing of these things. So when they happen, I think what you spoke of that's kind of universal is you need to have conviction in what you're doing and not focus on what you can't control. The idea I've heard and I like is that failure is not an option. So whatever comes your way, you're just going to have to deal with it as it is, not how you wish it was or would be.
I think, I've read a lot of business people's books over my lifetime, big executives and storytellers, and every single one of them, without hesitation, their beginning of their book of their successes, let me tell you how many times I failed. Let me tell you the ways that I failed. And I think that if you're going to be in business, you're going to be an entrepreneur, or even if you're going to be an employee, you will have struggles, you will have failures with your successes. And in my outdoor adventure business, I mean, it's not about reaching the peak; it's about the journey along the way. And I think that's a mindset that everyone has to have. Is that nobody's life is perfect. Nobody gets a pass. Whoever you think is making a ton of money doesn't have it always perfect behind the scenes. And it's this just understanding that failure is part of success. It's actually a mandatory part of success.
Very true. Now, when we talk about the things that you can't control in these big events, you mentioned COVID, and as an e-commerce company, we always switch the second half of the podcast to an e-commerce focus. That really changed everything in e-commerce, and it sounds like it had a pretty big impact on your business and how you had to maybe pivot a little bit. Talk about that, what you're doing in e-commerce, and maybe starting with COVID.
Yeah, COVID was a bit of a precursor to what I think was going to be coming. It just exacerbated the drive for everything going online. And COVID forced it upon everybody, but it was trending towards the fact that everyone was going to be shopping online and more transactions and more social and enterprising communications were going to be taking place in the social world. And so when COVID occurred, our wholesale, Whitney Howard Designs, is a mostly wholesale company. We built a business off of going to trade shows. We were in live venues 12 times a year, sitting in front of clients, tens of thousands of people, and selling and showing and what was our newest stuff, what was our collections, and you'd be writing orders. And it was fantastic. Instant gratification it was a diminishing industry prior to COVID, went to almost a complete shutdown. It did during COVID and has never found a path coming back. It is a decimated space of way people do commerce. It's no longer live commerce. Those people that were the buyers that would go to the shows for economic reasons can't afford to travel to these different venues, spend the time in these cities, spend the money that they used to spend. And so they're buying and shopping online. And so now there's online platforms for shopping. But it really transformed the way we do our business because, good or bad, we were really embedded into that live experience, the trade show thing. And we've had a hard time. I have tried everything under the sun: partners here, paying here, advertising here, sponsors here, email campaign, EMS systems, everything under the sun, and haven't been able to garner not nearly the amount of revenue that we used to gain. And we've lost a tremendous amount of clients, not just because they're not buying with us, because they didn't survive through COVID. I'd say half of the people that we used to sell to aren't in the space anymore. And it was a dramatic, even after 2008, which a lot got decimated, there was wonderful growth for a good period of time, people coming back. And more, I'm seeing people going online, and less of that face to face, and less of the boutique side of our industry is really, transformed. And so we continue to hunt in a creative way, finding partnerships, having this chance to talk with you. You never know where this relationship comes from. And this is a totally electronic relationship. We've not met physically. We met through electronica. And it's from this that if I'm not digging into these opportunities and engaging in these conversations, I have no idea who the person that's watching this, or I have no idea where you and I can build something from. And I said it a while ago, it's about relationships. And so I'm trying to forge relationships through the electronic world, and it's still a huge challenge, and it's kind of a moving machine. Amazon just completely absorbed massive bunch of space and took it up and holds all the air inside of their walled garden, and we just can't get away from it. And so it's disappointing, to say the least, but we continue to thrive and work our way through the challenges that have presented themselves to us.
It's a huge change, and it did speed up e-commerce in a lot of ways. Like you said, it was going to happen anyway, but maybe more controlled, a more
Yeah,
controlled demolition over time.
yeah. It was abrupt, and it's never recovered, and I don't think it'll have its. Look, I think for thousands of years we've had barter and market, open space markets where people buy things, farmers markets. Those things still exist, and I think there's a space for wholesale trade to find a space back within inside of that live market space. But the future is going to be in technologies that I'm implementing to create a storytelling mechanism through social media, through our e-commerce platforms, because that's how the consumer thinks. The consumer thinks from a relationship perspective that's on their phone or on their computer. It's emotional, it's sentimental. They're buying based on a swipe and a need, and they go and they shop. And I see it because every day Amazon and TikTok deliveries are getting delivered to my house. So it's tapping into something. And so we just need to find our story within inside of that. And I think we'll be able to capitalize.
Yeah, and there are some products that are just absolutely perfect for e-commerce and Amazon, and some that aren't. And you have one that historically anyway, even though things are changing, because just by the way it goes, you've had things that people would see and hold and feel the value.
Yeah.
And that's what people thought they needed, like people that felt they had to read books by holding a book, but
Right.
then eventually they got a Kindle and love it. So it is a change of things, but I could see how that would be a challenge for you on the e-commerce space, where people want to actually see what your products and hold them.
You think about the Howtrek, my other business that I have, that is a completely non-e-commerce structured business. It's all about experiences outside in nature, having education, outdoor education program, outdoor experiential stuff. You don't do the trend. I mean, I can't say you entirely. You get customers and they sign up for your trips online, but inevitably the product that they're buying is offline. It's a physical spirit. It's a physical connection with nature, which is, I think, that business has been growing and growing and growing annually, year after year. That's where my growth trajectory is because, kind of like what we're talking about, everything has gone online, and people are living and dealing with that online environment, and they want to just get back to some basic, simple, healthy living, being disconnected, seeing a beautiful butterfly fly in front of their face, and appreciate that live experience that you don't need to stop and swipe and go through. And there's this beautiful dichotomy in my life that has this one business that's doing pretty good in e-commerce and has been for a long time. And then I created this alter ego business, which is experiential based, physical, emotional, spiritual, experiential based business that relies on storytelling on the internet. And my Facebook and LinkedIn's and all those things have the narrative of my adventuring. But at the end of the day, it's just to drive people to my site to go sign up for one of my treks.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that the technology that creates all this activity is what creates also the need to escape from it from time to time.
Literally. Yeah. And I'm that gatekeeper that brings people to that beautiful, wonderful, special place.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So on the e-commerce side, you had to adapt quite a bit. You mentioned social media, which really is just another component of e-commerce, at least in my opinion. So
Yeah.
what other tools do you use for e-commerce specifically, and also to run the business? As you grow and get more complex, you've got to have solutions to help you run the business.
Yeah, so we have an EMS, an email marketing system in place. There's I don't know, name drops or whatever. There's several that are out there, whether it's simple ones like SurveyMonkey or Robly or Constant Contact, and there's some enterprise level ones that are in this space as well. I think that's a critical component to anybody's e-commerce business is having an email marketing system. It creates that stickiness that's necessary for you to have a relationship prosper. Half of the business is automation with inside of these EMS. So you're setting up widgets that say when somebody puts something in a cart and they abandon it, the automatic email system sends them an email with a little, hey, don't forget about that thing you left in the cart. We all get those on a regular basis. That's not a person sitting there manually saying, oh, look, Howard forgot something. Let me go send Howard an email. But it sure feels and looks like Howard sent that person an email. So email marketing systems are really critical, and there are a slew of enterprise companies or small companies having a newsletter so people sign up and give you their email information, give you their cell phone number so you can have SMS and messaging through those environments. Those are a critical part to marketing, especially in today's social world, collecting that data. Data. It's all about data. Who's your demographic? You have to know there's a term called an avatar. An avatar is who is your perfect identity customer that you have on the internet. Age, size, income, race, whatever background that you want to collect. Knowing your avatar helps you to understand who your customer is. And then you cater your marketing, you cater your messaging. You can't be everything to everybody. So go after the people that you are most assimilated to. That avatar is your key customer, your hero customer, and you market according to them. So EMS is critical. Having some sort of transaction gateway, whether it's Shopify or your individual bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, Stripe, Swipe, whatever, PayPal. You need to have a transaction platform, and it's going to be somebody you're going to have to learn about. You have to be mindful that there are a lot of people inside that space that are trying to charge more and for transactions and less for this. And part of that learn is negotiating and understanding each of these platforms and each of these technologies. There are so many players inside of it, and there's a lot of companies out there that thrive on the naivety of an entrepreneur, electronic entrepreneur, that their rates are really high. They feel like it's really good. They're answering all the buzzword questions, but the reality is they're just selling to the masses when you need to start to learn and understand certain words and nomenclatures. Transaction fees is a great example, or credit card fees. So finding the right partners within inside of those is going to be one of your learns. I use a product called HubSpot, which is my CRM, my customer relationship management tool. It integrates directly into my Outlook platform, and I can do some automations as I grow with that service. Right now I'm on a basic service, but as we continue to grow that relationship of that offering, it'll be something that does automation. And I've used that term automation quite a few times as I talk about this technology. Part of our business, it's critical because when you have automation, you basically wake up in the morning and emails and transactions and everything are going on while you're sleeping. You need to have that. You want to have that. It's almost impossible for you to own all the time, energy, and resources for you to be doing communications with every single one of the people that are going to be interacting with your sites. And so having automation is one of the goals that you want to focus on. And so wherever I can, I try to find ways to speed my relationship process up by using automation tools. So those, and then QuickBooks, those are the main primary ones: CRM, EMS, accounting software, transaction-based software. Those are the the main ones. And then there are sub tools, that you can use to design graphics, to do ad buying through the different social media platforms and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, and when we talk about getting into business and e-commerce business, there are many business processes or practices that will never go away. And you touched on two big ones, email marketing and a CRM like HubSpot. And really what that comes down to is communication and communicating with your clients, first to try and acquire them if they're in HubSpot as a prospect, and then through email marketing, newsletters, things like that, to continue that communication and keeping a connection to those customers and prospects.
It's relationships, 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 relationships. Every customer is a relationship. And in my old corporate days, you would monetize a person. You'd say, well, that person's average life, revenue is, you can actually put a number on a value of a relationship, which is a sort of a weird way to look at it. But a lot of corporations, a lot of businesses look at you as just a number, and the cost to acquire new customers as opposed to maintaining a new existing customer. And when you understand that, you understand why that value relationships are so important.
Yeah, cost of acquisition and
Yeah,
lifetime customer value too.
those are the words. That's
Those are big
it.
corporate KPIs. We'll throw another
Yes,
acronym out there.
exactly.
All right. Well, when we talk,
And that's key performance indicators for those that don't know what a KPI is. So
there you go. Thank you for that. So
yeah,
we talked about COVID speeding everything up. It has slowed down a little bit. Maybe it's coming to some kind of equilibrium, but e-commerce is absolutely growing very quickly. It's a $6 trillion market. About one in every four purchases made are online, and that's growing probably to 8 trillion in the next 2 to 5 years. What do you see coming for the future, and what advice do you have for anyone that wants to get into this and capitalize on that kind of growth and opportunity?
like in anything, the sooner you can get into it, the further you're going to get along with it. If you're looking for this to be something you want to do for your future, the future is now. So I would start building that enterprise out, start learning, start finding those EMSs, start finding those CRMs, start experimenting with advertising, start experimenting and understanding the marketing tools, understanding the products and services that you're offering your avatar. The sooner you invest, just like in the stock market, the sooner you put $1 into the market and let it mature and grow, the ebbs and flows occur, the market's up and down, but over the life of your dollar investment, you will make more over the life of it. So the same thing I'd say for e-commerce, get in, go for it. Don't have high expectations. And if you hit it, great. Sustain it is going to be the difficulty. But the sooner you get involved, the sooner you start playing around with it, the sooner you start making money and you start failing. Right. So be prepared to the more failures you can get out of the way at the beginning, you'll probably find that it'll be more beneficial for you later on. The other big thing that I think is really critical is AI. If you are not playing in the AI world, if you're not delving into the AI world, and it doesn't mean just asking a question on chat saying, hey, how do I write an email to a customer? That is not AI. That is as rudimentary as it possibly is. And everyone thinks that they're in the AI world by just asking chat to answer this email for you. It's a start, but it is by no means really grasping AI. AI is 100 different platforms that are designing content way beyond what ChatGPT is doing, that are dealing with your EMS, dealing with your CRM, dealing with understanding how to develop your avatar. All of these incredible tools that are thinking with you, for you, and enabling you. The more you can delve into that world, and the broader you can get into and the deeper you can get into it, the more beneficial it'll be for you. The future is AI in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to e-commerce and this transaction, where even if it's not a monetary transaction, it's a social transaction. AI is integrated with inside of so much of all of that stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying AI is you can pick the multiplier, but 100 times bigger, 1,000 times bigger than the internet itself, as far as the impact it's going to have on humanity. Well, that says it all. That you've got to be certainly aware leveraging it, if not incorporating it into everything that we're doing in the future, especially with e-commerce.
Yeah, I think it's important to dedicate a period of time every week or every month trying to expand your knowledge in AI. And don't be afraid of it. Dabble and play with the many different platforms and tools. Whitney and I are generating graphics that look better than the photographers who would have paid thousands of dollars for. I've written entire curriculum and programs myself using those tools that are incredible. I'm monetizing my stuff already using those AI tools. And so Whitney and I are dedicated to taking classes and learning and delving further into all the different tools that are going to be available to us in AI.
Yeah, in some ways it's crazy already, because you see the videos that people can create now, and they
Correct.
don't know what's real and what's not real. And so
Mm.
it's a bit of a wild west with AI at the moment, but
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
scary. It's scary. But if you don't join it, if it's going to beat you,
yeah.
and it's not going away. It's going to be here to stay, and it's going to be a part of the way that you get to play. And look, what's beautiful about e-commerce and beautiful about what we're talking about is I'm in the backyard of my house right now. You're maybe a home office, and we're creating business and creating relationships. And I'm going to go on a hike later today, and there's a beautiful balance in life that we get to have when we develop an e-commerce solution, something that's, again, transaction based or social based. It's actually freeing our lives up, and maybe AI is going to be a precursor to, you got to find more in life to do than just work and work and work. There's more to life than just working and paying your bills. There's quality of life, and I think what I'm learning to adapt to is finding quality of life. I work hard so I can play hard, and I enjoyed smelling the roses, and it's because I'm having automation take place, because I'm building relationships, I'm playing in the world that I need to be playing in. That you got to get in the sandbox, and so I'm playing within it, but I'm also sitting in my backyard here in Southern California with the sun on me, and I'm working because I'm talking with you, and we're making stuff happen.
Yeah, and a web chat is a great example, because it wasn't long ago at all that if somebody wanted to meet face to face and have a conversation, they would have to get on an airplane, go somewhere, get a hotel, all the expense of it, and the time commitment of it, and that's all been erased to a very high degree. People aren't,
Yeah,
uh, there's still a lot of value to it, but yeah, it's changing very, very quickly.
it is.
All right, so Howard, we've talked about your products a little bit loosely, but why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about what you've got going on, where people can find you, your website, social media, all that good stuff as we wrap up here today.
So there are two main businesses. Whitney Howard Designs is a sentiment gift company. It's like Hallmark, but in metal. So every time you have life's experience, we create a card, if you will, a metal accessory that gets to carry that life's journey with you. One of our best-selling items is a pet memorial rock. We literally make 1,000 of them every month. It's just a beautiful natural river rock that we put a pewter medallion charm that says "Forever My Heart," and we put in a beautiful little gift bag. And so we're finding Sentiments Gifting Company. That's who we are. American made and all eco-friendly, made in our studios in Los Angeles. And like you were saying earlier, half our business is private label. So organizations and companies, we're in over 200 museums: 9/11 Museum, Holocaust Museum, George O'Keeffe Museum, featured designers making products that are affordable, American made, with their words and their symbols and their messages on their products that we make for them. And we've been doing that for over 20 plus years, and very grateful to have that continue. And then the other business, and so you can find us at Whitney Howard Designs, at Whitney Howard Designs on Instagram, Whitney Howard Designs on Facebook, TikTok. It's all there across the board on all those different platforms. And then there's Howtrek, Howtrek. That's my adventure company. You can find on some of the social. I'm certainly delving into social. I'm having a lot of fun just going out there. I haven't really gotten too far into I've been fortunate enough that the business comes to me from reputation and experience, that I don't have to do too much hunting and business development out there in that world. I'm constantly busy taking people on treks. And I design treks for father-daughters, for executives, day hikes, multi-day adventures, high adventures, basic car camping tours of Death Valley National Parks. I'm an outfitter and a guide service across the country, have permit, license, bonded, and all that stuff too. And you can certainly find me on the internet at howtrek.com and the and Facebook and all that sort of stuff too.
All right, perfect. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up today's podcast. So Howard, thank you for sharing your experience with our listeners, and thanks to everyone listening, and we will see you next time.
Happy trails.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Focal Insights Podcast. If you like this episode, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can be alerted of new episodes. See you next time.